I'm being joined by one of India's best bariatric surgeons, Dr. Mufazzal Lakrawala is with us. He also is the doctor of Mr. Anant Amani. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Lakrawala, here on the show. Dr. Lakrawala, a lot of misconceptions surround obesity. A lot of people think that those people who are obese are either just eating non-stop or just not moving. But the fact of the matter is that lifestyle is just one aspect of this. There are many other reasons for obesity.
So obesity mainly is a chronic disease of fat accumulation which causes a host of problems. By chronicity, we mean that it is long-lasting. It's not an acute problem that comes and goes away with time. The other thing is that it is multifactorial. So you cannot always blame your genes for your being obese. There are at least 150 odd genes which have been isolated, which might be linked to obesity in some form or the other, but there are many, many more in the pipeline that might get picked up. Currently, we do know that monogenic obesity, or obesity which happens once we are born and in the first 2 or 3 years of your life, can be probably related to a genetic cause of obesity. The next most common thing that most average people, lay people understand obesity is because of your thyroid problem. Now let me clarify this once and for all. Endocrinal causes of obesity, be it the thyroid, be it your tiny little gland which sits on top of the kidney called the adrenal gland, might account for maybe 5% of all causes of obesity. And that is, so when you're hypothyroid, even when you're grossly hypothyroid, you'll probably put on 8 to 10 kilos at max. That is because of water retention and various other things. However, if you were to spin it around, obesity further worsens your hypothyroid status and might cause you to further increasing your medications for hypothyroid. The other problem is the adrenal gland, which causes something called as Cushing syndrome, which causes moon face, it causes water retention across the body, and that can account to a lot of obesity which can be medically treated. However, 90% or more causes of obesity are usually lifestyle related. Now, why I say that is because it's probably the thrifty gene in the years gone by when our body adapted to famines and less of food. Our genes modified in such a way that it was not ready for this new generation of fast food. It was not ready for this new generation of lifestyle disorders. It was not ready for this new generation of lack of sleep, which all has been brought on. So I believe that when our genes modified, it loaded the gun. I believe that today's lifestyle has pulled the trigger, and that's why we have so many people struggling with obesity.
You know, Dr. Lakrawala, you've been the doctor of Anant Amani. We saw his miraculous transformation a few years ago. For a patient like Anant Amani, who's been obese, you spoke about the fact that he's been battling obesity ever since he was a child. You know, how has his journey really been? Right from the time he gained weight, then he lost it, and now he's gained that weight back again.
Anant Amani has struggled with a weight problem since his childhood. Since the age of 2, he was diagnosed with asthma and he had to be put on a lot of steroids and medications for that. And that is why he kept putting on weight. So quite unlike the rest of the members of his family, he unfortunately was designed to put on more weight because of the diseases that came along with it. He's tried a lot, and in fact, a few years back, he did miraculously well, wherein he lost more than 120 odd kilos to reach where he did at 79 kilos. Now, most people thought that he probably looked at a short-term solution like surgery or various other options, but that was not true. He had decided, and he went on to a below 500 kilocalorie diet. He was exercising regularly and various other things. Unfortunately, with obesity, what happens is that what you try once doesn't necessarily work the same way as it does with you. And when your body is predisposed to obesity, for example, if your body is used to being 200 kilos, that's the set point. So your body will always try to pull you back up to that 200 kilos when you let your guard just that wee bit long. You don't have to make too many mistakes like you normally do. So for example, if I were to go out and eat a samosa, my reaction of my body would be completely different from what Anant's body's reaction would be. He would so much as need to just smell the samosa and he would tend to put on weight. So like I said, he did miraculously well. It was not only self-determination plus the diet and exercise regime that he followed. This time round, when the same diet regime did not work, we tried to put him on a 500 kilocalorie and below diet because we thought that his body's basal metabolic rate required that for him to sustain and lose that weight. He's one of those guys who's very, very motivated. The biggest problem with obesity is that it stigmatizes you. And because of the stigma, you feel mentally down. But he's very positive about overcoming this, and that's the great thing about him. And he keeps fighting this battle internally, mentally, for himself, as well as for the people that he's exposed to. He's very positive that he'll probably overcome this, and this time I'm trying to help him again fight this battle. He's done very well again in the lead up. A lot of the diseases that he had associated with obesity seem to be receding only because he's lost significant amount of weight again. But it's always going to be a struggle for him, and that road is always going to be uphill. How long he keeps maintaining himself mentally and physically is always going to be a challenge for him.
All right, Dr. Lakrawala, I'm going to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your views with us on obesity and putting that much needed spotlight on this disease. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.